That's right, guys. The title didn't deceive you. I sold my R5, and no, I did not sell it for the R5c. What's up, fam? How y'all doing today? Back at the end with another video. So this is actually my second take of this because I did a whole thing where I recorded this before and I had great lighting, great dynamic range, and great filming, only to find out that I never hit the record button on this guy. So there's just a whole bunch of me talking with no audio. So I only found out about it hours later. So now I'm back at it. The light is a little bit different than what I would like, but it's still pretty good. Let's get right into it. I have decided to sell my R5. In fact, it's already sold. It's now shipped, and it's pretty much either today or tomorrow is going to be in the hands of its new owner. So I'm very hopeful that its new owner will be very happy with the capabilities of the camera, as I was. But let's talk right into why I decided to sell the R5. Now, did I sell the R5 because the camera sucked? No. You guys been following me for a while, then you know I pretty much love the R5. I love it to death. The image out of this still blows my mind. The amount of detail you can get, whether even if it's an 8K RAW or oversample 4K, the amount of details and the amount of the beautiful images and just how detailed the images out of that camera is just truly remarkable. Has one of the best looking images I have seen. Its autofocus capabilities is great. Solid IBIS. For those that are in the mirrorless camera system, that likes working with those mirrorless cameras that shoots videos but also takes stills for if they want to go shoot stills, then the R5 is definitely for them, and I can't recommend this enough. So why am I selling it? And it basically boils down to one thing and one thing only: the Canon C70, which is filming me right now. And that's simply because the C70 is just so good at doing everything that I do for both my work and leisure that I find it very, very difficult to choose the R5 over the C70. There's so many different ways. The R5 has a lot of great features, but the C70 does these features either better or just as good. And I just found myself a lot of times wishing I can get some of these features, things like waveforms, false colors, to help with the exposure tools, so I don't need an additional monitor. A better battery life. The battery life is solid, but once you've worked with the C70, where the main battery that comes with it gives you like 3 hours of battery life on its own, and then you can get a bigger battery that can basically run you the entire day, and it can power another piece of equipment, it's really hard to really stick with the R5. So I kept asking myself before I sold it, like, is there some reason I can use the R5? Well, it's like, oh, well, multi-camera shootings. Because they're both Canon cameras, they're both RF mount cameras. So that was one of the things. But then I was like, well, my company is moving to get the red Komodo for itself. Not me personally. Personally, the C70 is my personal camera, but my company is going to get Komodo. And that has an RF mount. So that position has been taken by what would have been the RF mount. And it's obviously a raw workflow, a much more fluid raw workflow than the R5. Both Super 35, even though right now I'm using the full frame speed booster on my C70, it's a lot easier to get those things to sort of line up, especially now with the C70 getting ready to get its raw capabilities. So in terms of multicams, I think a Komodo C70 combo. So C70 can, if I seriously need some autofocus, which is really only in gimbal and maybe sit down talking interviews with here, which it does solid in those situations. In fact, it's fantastic in those situations. Then the C70, even in talking heads, the Komodo has at least in terms of single point autofocus, where it could work. Well, then let's talk about travel videos, because the R5 is lighter, the R5 is easier to just grab and go and shoot. That's not actually true either, because I took the R5, and I took that to Dominican Republic before my trip. I was really debating on, should I have taken my C70 or taken my R5? I ultimately went with the R5, but it was a really struggle debate, because I was just sitting here going, well, I can use the batteries that I have, pretty much run them all day with the C70. But ultimately I was like, well, this is lighter and it's faster. And what I found out in my trips during the Dominican Republic was not dealing with any overheating, never ran into overheating, and that was like 90-degree weather. It was more to do with the fact of the lack of a built-in ND. Now, I was using the Canon drop-in ND filter, which works fine. The only problem is that I have to, and if I ever want to go clear, I have to take the mount off, remember to take the mount off, put that in the case, remember to have the case while I'm traveling, just with me and my wife, and then put that in the case, take the clear filter out, put that on there, and then putting that back on the camera, and then putting the lens on the camera. If I was going from a very bright scene like out at the beach to shooting something at night. And this was something that was just constantly happening to me, and it did get annoying, and it was like, man, I wish I had built-in NDs. And with the C70, I could just go and flip the ND on, then flip it off. In fact, I could just touch the screen, go straight to 8, and then cut it back and go straight to 0 in an instant. So, I mean, again, it's just the workflow. Weddings, gimbal use. The C70, I can basically put it on a Ronin. Yeah, I can put it on a Ronin 2S. I can also put it on a Crane 3S and pretty much use it with almost no issues whatsoever. And that's the beauty about the C70, is that I can literally throw it in any situation without adding so many different things. With the R5, I have to add some battery life. I added the Anton Bauer to extend the battery life, and that just built the camera up to the point where it was the size of the C70. I need a variable ND, and the variable ND needs to be taken out and put back on. It really becomes kind of, it's just these little things that just add up. The lack of proper exposure tools for video, the lack of a true shutter angle mechanism. All these things just add up and add up and add up, and ultimately I was like, I just found myself looking like I'm just basically using the C70, and basically the R5 has been sitting on the shelf for like 5 months right now. So I was like, basically made the decision to sell it where I can still recoup a strong majority of the money that I purchased for it, as well as for some of the other additional items, because I completely wiped out. Like, I sold my R5, I sold my 24-105 lens, I sold all the accessories I got for the R5 with it, and I even sold my Weeble S. And I was able to use it to sell it at a higher price than what I actually purchased the R5, because I was basically given a whole package. And so I recouped most of the money, and the R5 already 3x what I was doing in terms of my business in the meantime. And I did this because I didn't want to run into the same scenario that I did with the C200, which is I held on to the C200 much longer than I should have, and now its value just very much depleted to where it's fraction of what I paid for it. So I didn't want to run into that same mistake again. But yeah, that's essentially it. It's nothing that the camera was bad. It's just these little things that just add up. And then just having the C70 camera being able to just do all this with ease, it just made me go always choosing for every single scenario with the C70 than going with the R5. So I was just like, let me just get rid of it. And that way I can use the money to maybe put it to something else, whether if it's lights, whether if it's lenses, whether if it's things around the house. So that's the reason why. But I would love to know for you guys, especially for those who've been following me because of the R5, I would love to know how you feel about this. I would also love to know if you think I made the right decision or not. Let me know. Leave the comments down below. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, until next time, take care, everyone.